Good morning. Prime Minister Trudeau's political vindictiveness and pettiness is hurting Canadians. This is his last chance before the summer adjournment to stop playing politics with Canadians, to listen to what we have been saying, and to take action for Canadians who are suffering with the high cost of fuel, food, and housing. Since February, we Conservatives have been presenting pragmatic and reasonable solutions to help Canadians who are suffering because of the affordability crisis. Instead, Trudeau is being vindictive and unreasonable. He thinks he's hurting Conservatives politically by saying no to our proposals. In fact, he is punishing Canadians with his petty political vengeance. The solutions that we've been offering for months aren't radical ideas. They are common sense solutions. When gas prices went through the roof this winter, we asked that the government suspend the GST on fuel to give Canadians a break. Other countries were providing tax reliefs. Some provinces were doing it too, and we believed that our federal government could do it. The Prime Minister said no. We then asked again for relief for Canadians by suspending the carbon tax on April 1st. Another reasonable idea during a difficult time that would give Canadians just a little bit of a break. Again, Trudeau said no. Both times it was clear he was saying no to us because of politics, because it was us who were asking for it, because it was our idea. But the fact is, in both cases, when Trudeau said no to Conservatives, his vindictiveness did not hurt us, but it did hurt Canadians. Keep in mind, the cost of living crisis does not directly affect him. The Prime Minister doesn't pay for his own gas. He doesn't pay for his own food. He does not have to stand in line. Conservatives have been asking as well that the tariff on fertilizer brought before March 2nd be removed in order to help our agricultural producers. The Prime Minister, again, said no. Again, his political vindictiveness in saying no to us doesn't hurt Conservatives, but it directly hurts our farmers, our producers. Another consistent request that we've been making is that the Prime Minister listen to the science and to experts who say that vaccine mandates and restrictions are no longer required. And we have asked that he return us to pre-COVID normal in order to allow Canadians to travel unobstructed, to help our hurting tourism sector, and to let Canadians get back to their pre-COVID normals. Justin Trudeau keeps saying no to that. He thinks he's hurting Conservatives, but what he is doing is causing irreparable harm to Canadians. This is probably the most egregious example of his pettiness, his vindictiveness, and his hypocrisy. He travels around the world to countries without restrictions, enjoying their freedoms, hanging out, eating, and drinking with potentially unvaccinated people who are all unmasked. We've all seen the photos of Justin Trudeau, maskless, in every single country that he has been to in the last year, while at the same time telling his own citizens, telling Canadians they must abide by domestic COVID rules, draconian and completely out of date. The Prime Minister's forced restrictions at home and the personal freedoms that he flaunts while he's outside of Canada are nothing short of disingenuous theatrics combined with astounding hypocrisy. In all of these cases, what is so incredibly disturbing is the Prime Minister's willingness to play politics with people's lives. Conservatives, on the other hand, have chosen to offer positive solutions to the challenges that our country is facing. You can go back and check our record. Throughout this session, we are putting Canadians first by consistently proposing reasonable and pragmatic solutions. Today, we are offering our own omnibus motion of sorts that will give Canadians a break and get their lives back to normal. We do not think that that is too much to ask for. We are calling on the NDP and the Bloc to help us help Canadians. They have a chance today to put Canadians first. Our message to the Bloc and the NDP today is don't vote for us. Don't vote for our motion. Vote for Canadians. The same opportunity exists for this Liberal government. The Prime Minister can continue to be petty and stubborn, or he can do the right thing and agree with these common sense ideas for the sake of Canadians. Today, we are offering him a chance to put his vindictive pettiness aside and deliver the relief the Canadians need and that they want so badly before the summer holidays. I sincerely hope that he takes it. Thank you. My colleague now, Luc Berthold, will deliver a few comments en français, and then we are happy to take your questions. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, chef. Bonjour à tous. L'attitude vindicative de Justin Trudeau fait du tort à tous les Canadiens. Avant la pause estivale, on offre à Justin Trudeau la chance unique de faire ce qui est juste, de penser aux familles canadiennes. C'est sa dernière chance avant la fin de la session d'écouter ce qu'on dit et mettre en place des solutions pour aider les familles canadiennes à joindre les deux bouts. Depuis février, les conservateurs ont démontré à plusieurs reprises que nous présentons des mesures pragmatiques, des mesures raisonnables pour aider les Canadiens qui souffrent terriblement de l'augmentation du coût de la vie. Au lieu de ça, depuis le début de la session, Justin Trudeau, le premier ministre, ne pense qu'à lui et à sa manière d'essayer de faire tort aux conservateurs, en rejetant les propositions conservatrices une par une. En faisant ça, il ne punit pas les conservateurs, au contraire, ce sont les Canadiens qu'il punit. Quand le prix de l'essence a commencé à augmenter, on a demandé au gouvernement de suspendre la TPS sur l'essence et le diesel. Ça aurait donné un répit aux Canadiens, mais le premier ministre a dit non. Ensuite, le 1er avril dernier, on a demandé de suspendre l'augmentation de la taxe sur le carbone. Le premier ministre a encore dit non. Pour aider les producteurs agricoles, on a demandé que le tarif sur les engrais achetés avant le 2 mars soit supprimé. Le premier ministre a encore dit non. Nous avons toujours demandé que le premier ministre écoute la science et les experts qui disent que les restrictions sanitaires ne sont plus nécessaires. On a également demandé de revenir à la normale d'avant la pandémie. Le premier ministre, encore une fois, a dit non. Contrairement au premier ministre et au gouvernement libéral, nous plaçons les Canadiens en premier et nous proposons des solutions qui sont raisonnables et pragmatiques, comme je l'ai mentionné. Nous demandons aujourd'hui au NPD et au Bloc québécois de soutenir les Canadiens en appuyant la motion que nous allons présenter aujourd'hui. Aujourd'hui, le Bloc, le NPD auront la chance de faire passer les Canadiens en premier et de voter pour les Canadiens. Le premier ministre a la même occasion aujourd'hui de faire ce qui est juste et de voter aussi pour les Canadiens en appuyant des mesures qui vont les aider à faire face à cette crise du coût de la vie. Merci beaucoup.
We'll take any questions that you might have.
We'll now start with a question period. We'll start with the questions in the room, and then we'll move on to Zoom if there are any. I invite everybody on Zoom. Oh, no, from the mic. I invite everybody on Zoom to raise their hand if they have any questions. So, Globe and Mail?
Just to Ian Bailey, just one question on the leadership race. Earlier this year, you called on the candidates to avoid personal attacks. Do you think that they have taken your advice?
Well, the candidates are running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, and each one of them then want to go on to be the Prime Minister. So I recognize that this leadership race is not something for the faint of heart. It is a very vigorous race where not only the candidates are incredibly engaged, but hundreds of thousands of Canadians are engaged. I understand politics clearly, that sometimes people, in the attempt to win those votes over, criticize their each other's positions. And so I've seen this happen. I'm not new to politics. I'm very excited about the race. I have no doubt that once the race is over, we will all come together, we'll be united and be strong. So to answer your question, I absolutely respect the candidates to run the race that they believe is the best race. At the end of the day, the membership will decide. And at the end of that, I can tell you Conservatives are united and strong and ready to take on the Liberals.
But do you think any of them have crossed any lines in sort of this vigorous, engaged race where they're...
As I said, I think they've both run the race that they believe is the best one for them. And I'm so happy that our members will make the right decision.
That they both run the
They
race?
They all have run the race that they've decided is the best for them. Thanks, Ian.
We'll move on to Zoom with John Paul Tasker from CBC.
Good morning, Ms. Bergen. Thanks for taking our questions. Pierre Poilievre has already floated the idea of temporarily cutting the fuel taxes this summer. And I asked Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's office about it at the time, and they were cool to the idea. They're clearly not going to go that route. They're touting the childcare deal with the provinces, a bulked up Canada Child Benefit. They say that's what will help with affordability. Why do you think that's not good enough?
Well, because it's not good enough. Because people are paying over, in some provinces, $2 a litre for gas. People can't afford groceries. They can't afford rent, much less mortgage trying to buy a house. So it's not enough because it's not working. And I think, and as per my comments, what's very frustrating is that the Liberals won't even give consideration to cutting taxes. As I said, this isn't a novel idea. Other countries are doing it. We're seeing some provinces trying to find ways to do it, just seeing that the people that they represent are suffering and need some relief. And we're just finding that the Liberals, Trudeau in particular, is being so political and vindictive that he will say no to every idea that we propose, thinking that he's hurting us. He's not hurting us. He's hurting Canadians. So we need to see some action. We need to see a government that recognizes people don't need a check from the government. They need taxes cut. The best way to provide relief for Canadians is cut their taxes, not promise them, a check might come in the mail and you should be happy with an extra $100 every 4 months. It's not working. And it literally is the biggest issue that I would say every MP is hearing about, and it's the cost of gas, food, and housing.
You may have seen former NHL player Ryan Whitney recently posted a video on social media complaining about hours-long wait times at Toronto's Pearson Airport. The custom line that day was just out of control, and I think any days it's out of control. And the problem will probably only get worse as we head into the busy summer travel season. What do you make of these ongoing issues, and what should the government do about them? I know you've been on about the vaccine mandate, but is there something else that they can do to resolve some of these issues?
Well, that would be a huge step. That would, and I agree with you, JP, the lines, anybody who's traveling or wants to start traveling is pretty intimidated because of the massive lineups and the waits, and it makes traveling very unpleasant. But the fact is, the Liberals could immediately remove these domestic restrictions and the international restrictions. That would cause the backlog to stop by a great degree. We've also heard, I was talking to one of the security folks in Ottawa. He said a lot of people quit when the vaccine passports started. I think he said they lost 15 different people who are not able to come back. So in order to get people working again, they need to drop the federal vaccine mandates. All the restrictions need to go. They also haven't spent the entire budget. They need to be hiring people back. But we believe, first and foremost, not only practically, the good things that would happen if all of the COVID restrictions were dropped and we could go back to pre-COVID normal, that would have a huge impact. But then hiring more staff to be able to work security would be obviously very helpful.
Next question is Lee Min-Zhu, New Tang Dynasty TV.
Oh, hi, Ms. Bergen. My question is, after the Canada-China committee, that to establish that committee's motion or like a proposal was passed, when will that committee actually will be operating?
Thank you for the question. We're hoping to see it up and running very soon. The Afghan committee has to wrap up its work, which is happening in the next couple of days. And then we're hoping, and we'd like to see the Canada-China committee resume. So we're hoping that that's going to happen fairly quickly.
Do you have a follow-up, Limin?
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, so is that will happen during the recession? That's going to, not recession, when
Recess.
the House recess, sorry. Or like it will come much later after like the House resumes.
If Conservatives have our way, and what we'd like to see, it would happen very quickly, even be established during the summer recess. So, again, because the Liberals and NDP have their coalition, they are making a number of agreements, but we think we have the NDP support on this. So our will and our desire is that it's established very quickly, and that's what we're going to be encouraging the government to do.
Are there any other questions on Zoom or in the room?
Great.
I don't see any other raised hands, so this concludes the press conference this morning.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.